loved the feeling of being helpful. The following summer, I worked in a psychiatric hospital for the elderly, where many patients had been hospitalized for 30 or 40 years. I remember an ancient, scary woman who shuffled along behind me everywhere I went and stared at my every move, like an owl contemplating her prey. At a young age, I was compelled to try to understand the brokenness of humanity. When I enrolled at St. Andrews University, I planned to study geography. I had always loved maps, and still do, but in my third year I declared a major in psychology. The study of human behavior trumped my interest in topography. I graduated in 1980 with an MA in psychology, and the following spring I became a student again, studying nursing at the Royal Infirmary in Edinburgh. I wanted to travel and work at a job that was in demand across countries and cultures, and to find a way to make a difference in the world. I was 22 and had been a student nurse for 6 months when I was assigned to care for a man in his 40s, dying of leukemia. He had just been moved from the main ward, with its 15 beds down either side, to one of only 2 private rooms. Standing nervously outside his room that evening, as my heart hammered against my ribcage, I thought about what I would say. "Good evening, Mr. Stevens. I'm Nurse Brown, here for the night shift. How are you feeling?" I wasn't sure that my experience with Gran or nursing school had prepared me for this. I took a deep breath and knocked softly on Mr. Stevens's door. A stronger voice than I was expecting said, "Come in." The darkened room enveloped me as I stepped in, my eyes taking a few moments to adjust. "Hello, you must be my nurse for tonight. Just call me Jack, will you?" All this formality, not much use for it at this stage of my life. "Good evening, I'm Nurse Brown," I said. I wasn't allowed to tell patients my first name, or call them by theirs, though I always wanted to. His baldness struck me, as did the dark circles under his eyes. The photograph by Jack's bed caught my eye. A family shot, taken on a windy day somewhere on the coast. The woman's dark hair was blown across most of her face. She had a joy about her. 2 children, a boy about 8 years old, a cheeky face, a redhead, and a little girl, perhaps 5, holding on to a soggy-looking cracker, a shy glance at the camera. "The summer holidays?" I asked, glad for the opener. "Just this past summer on Isla," Jack replied. "Bitter wind, but we love it there. Been going since Alistair was a baby. Won't be any more of those holidays now. At least not with the 4 of us." I said, at a loss for words. Tears threatened, but not now. I bustled around the room, straightened the pile of paperbacks, folded the Guardian and popped a few scrunched tissues into the paper rubbish bag taped to the edge of the tabletop. "Shall I refill your ice water?" I asked. "Thanks, the painkillers make me unbelievably thirsty." I picked up the styrofoam cup, glad for the excuse to step out of the room. As I stood at the ice machine, the clatter of the cubes dropping into the empty cup soothed me with its ordinariness. Although I felt awkward and incompetent to help Jack with his vast sadness and fears about dying, over the next few days he put me at ease by talking openly about his feelings. He described the guilt he felt about leaving his children and his wife, even though he knew cancer wasn't his fault, and he worried about the pain his death would cause them. With Jack, I learned that it was not my responsibility to take away his sorrow and worry, but more to offer a soft place of caring for his feelings to land. I found that if I mostly listened and spoke rarely, Jack talked himself through his feelings until he finally ran out of words, and a deep quiet wrapped around us. The space between us seemed to connect us both to something larger, a perspective that I know now, more than 30 years later, can be deeply comforting in those moments when words make little sense. Jack's openness and vulnerability